Hey everyone, it's Thursday, December 15th. We looked at a lot of selling today. I told you the day after, I said this last night, the day after the Fed announcement is usually when everybody gets to, overnight, they get to evaluate what's said, everything that's going on, and then they make the decision what they want to do with these markets. And apparently there's some fear out there of the recession, even, that's what they're talking about. Uh, but that's news related. So we got to put that into perspective. It's hard to trade on news because news, they say this, we go this way. You got to watch the technicals. The technicals on this broke down. I just drew this trend line the other day, and now we're below that trend line. Took out all those sellers from that big day when everybody's excited on November 30th. Definitely took all those out in a hard way right now. There was some volume on the selling today, been some volume on the last 3 days. Again, there's this gap up and everything else there. So things are looking a little precarious. I mean, it's still the key on this weekly chart of the SPY is 431.73. Then on the downside, if we get back below 348, that's going to be a major problem technically. We don't want to go into 2023 with this, but we just might end up doing that. Um, so we got to watch it. We got to watch that low. I mean, I'm calling this a similar low because the low we put in on June 13th was 362. This that was nowhere near close. Let's put the closing low was 357 on October 10th. The closing low this day was 365. So that's pretty close. Nowhere near an extension if using the fibs, but that was the first good thing about this whole thing on the weekly, that we didn't really go down to an extension. So I put a fib retracement on this move. Here we're not even really near that 1272. So again, that's what we're still looking from a technical perspective. You got to watch trading news because that's what this is based on. Fear and news is the catalyst of this. But the technical portion is that breaking below that trend line that I drew. And again, it's short term. Long term, we got a long ways to go down before anything is broken on that weekly, but it's not in a good spot right now because they're so far down the queues. Very similar situation, broke its trend line. And the small caps, which again we watch to see what's going on. That definitely broke below any trend line. Like I said, you could have put in there. I said it already had broken that. So I think almost every stock was red today. Again, my list of about 200. You see DR Horton. I don't know if there was news. CF, the oil slash energy with Halliburton, Phillips 66, and VLO in there. MPC barely red. Chesapeake, CMOS up there with CF. That was the biggest gainers today, and that's a long list I have. Biggest loser was Western Dig. Spotify, I'm sure these ones with the big ones had some news. Netflix backed off. We'll get to that. So, like I said, Apple is doing everything the market's doing. Got to watch that recent low here. Like I said, 134, 135, then all the way down to 129, 130. And Amazon again been ugly for a while. Got to watch that 85. You think like, how do I trade this if I want to trade? Obviously you can't be really bullish because you're going against the trend. But anything downside, especially with volume, you got to watch that volatility and the theta and all that other stuff because you could think you're winning a big trade, but the volatility kicks up. Again, let's go back to the SPYs. The volatility kicks up. That messes with you. I'm sorry. If you're doing options on your trades. When the volatility kicks up, we'll do that by the ATR here, and you see it's definitely increasing. When the volatility kicks up, that messes with your option prices. It's just like an earnings report. High volatility in the report, it gets sucked out. That really messes with your options prices when the volatility, and also messes it with when it kicks in. You think you got like a big move down, and you're short or in some puts, you're in some puts, and then all of a sudden you're not making as much money as you thought you were because of the volatility. So you got to watch the volatility. If you remember from 2020, that's what happened. So Tesla on that weekly still holding. And again, these are areas. These are not perfect levels. The 160 level holding in the area could go to 155. Breaks 155 area could go near 100. And then Google, like I said, but to get bullish on Google, you got to give back above 104. To get bearish, you got to break that low there in the 83, 85 area. We were looking at Netflix. Remember, I said if it takes out some sellers on this gap from a couple reports ago, you do something. It's just pulling right back. You go all the way back to 248 on that one. That's the mid gap fill of that big gap. That's usually what you're dealing with at that point in time. Again, holding a decent trend, but again, if the markets are going to feel nasty, you can see everything that we've looked at so far is going to go with it. Remember, on these weekly charts, lows not so bad of a candle today. Didn't close near the lows, but still watching at 215. Remember, that's on a weekly. Home Depot, similar situation, watching that. My number's buried. The 330, 335 area to get back above. Again, some buying back in that. You see, those candles are a little bit different than the market's candles with some wicks on the bottom of them. Visa, not so much. Still watching that 217, 218. Goldman Sachs and Bank of America selling like the markets. Got to get back up to 380. Bank of America, again, not a bad candle for that, but could run all the way down near $30 pretty easily. And then DocuSign, which was our momentum moving trade we showed on the weekly chart, intraday charts, that all of a sudden lost some of its momentum to the upside. But again, you would think that would go down because any other, popped on this report 2 reports ago, popped on 3 reports ago, and had it continued in its trend down. Now let's look at that 30-minute chart again. You see now we got this run up here, so where could this go? Let's throw a fib on the top to the low. This could go at least to 51.50, and probably the 61.8 is down around 49 and a quarter is where I would put that. So it could very easily go to there if you're using that. If you're going to change this to like a 15, I think I did a 5-minute chart on something yesterday, you're still looking about the same thing. It trended right up that 21 EMA intraday. Nothing else to really look at today to get excited about. Maybe, okay, this could set up for tomorrow or whatever. I'm going to start doing some stuff with some weekly options on a Friday. I've done some good things with those in the past, like you get something early in the day or something that's going to move, and then you get a big move at the end of the day. You can do a Thursday or Friday, do something with those options that are expiring the same day. Just do with a little bit of money. It's like a little bit of a gambling, not gambling, but you figure out what you're doing. You're not going to lose too much, but you could get a whole bigger return. I'll start posting that when I do that kind of stuff.